Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News 360 and it's live money news up here at this hour in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Force. A look at the top stories this evening. Jubilation in Zimbabwe as President Robert Mugabe resigns.
Also, a commission of inquiry on the creation of new districts and regions begins public sit-ins.
Also ahead this evening, President Akufo-Addo reassures Ghanaians the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor will not witch hunt political opponents.
Also, in business this evening, Minister of Finance says it has paid all the National Health Insurance Scheme arrears from 2014 up until April 2017.
Absolutely. We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, including the latest from the world of sports and entertainment. Remember, this bulletin is streaming live on 3news.com as well as TV3 Ghana on Facebook.
And to the breaking news that's been on for quite a while now, Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe has resigned. There's a letter from Zimbabwe's former president said the decision was voluntary and that he had made it to allow a smooth transition of power. The surprise announcement halted an impeachment hearing that had begun against him.
Zimbabwe, Amendment number 20, 2013. Following my verbal communication with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Advocate Jacob Mudenda, at 13:53 hours, 21st November 2017, intimating my intention to resign as the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, I, Robert W. Mugabe, in terms of Section 96, Subsection 1 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, hereby formally tender my resignation as the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe with immediate effect.
And still on this, thousands of Zimbabweans poured onto the streets of the capital to jubilate over the resignation of President Robert Mugabe, who had served the nation for 37 years.
Well, this jubilation is still ongoing and various parts of the country of Zimbabwe, keeping an eye on that development. But there's a good reason why Ghana is interested in what's happening in Zimbabwe, because the immediate past president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, praised President Nana Akufo-Addo for delivering a deep speech when he spoke at Ghana's 60th Independence Day parade. President Mugabe, who was a guest at Ghana's independence celebration earlier this year, said the speech had undertones of a president who finds a lot of inspiration from Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The veteran freedom fighter lamented that the cruelest act in Ghana was the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah.
He was reading a speech, and this came as reference to Nkrumah. But you don't refer to Nkrumah if you don't believe to him. If you don't believe in him. So I said, you made a wonderful speech. And I said that I think I could relate to him. I don't think I have found, well, I'm now 93. I have been myself in an environment of nationalists, those who have made me. Yes, we want our countries to get developed and to really get developed. But we do not distinguish development that yields benefit, absolute benefit to our people. Distinguish that from development that on the face of it might seem to be benefit to our people, employment and so on. But the natural resources then are in the hands of the very people from whom we thought we wrenched them. They have come back and said, we will help you to develop. And we have said, yes, yes. We will help you to create employment. Yes, yes. Investment, well and good.
Well, still in line with the relations with former President Mugabe and Ghana, Mugabe has been shown to have a well-documented connection with Ghana, where he came to teach and married his first wife, Sally Hayfron. Ghana's leading role in the Pan-African struggle played an important role in shaping Mugabe, who's known as the freedom fighter. In 1955, Mugabe moved to Northern Rhodesia. There he taught for 4 years at Chalimbana Training College, while also working toward his Bachelor of Science degree in economics through correspondence courses with the University of London. After moving to Ghana, Mugabe completed his economics degree in 1958. He also taught at St. Mary's as a teacher training college, where he met his first wife, Sarah Hayfron, whom he married in 1961. Sally Hayfron worked at the college and shared Mugabe's political interest. In Ghana, Mugabe declared himself a Marxist, supporting the Ghanaian government's goal of providing equal education opportunities to the formerly designated lower classes. From 1958 to 1960, Mugabe attended the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute in Winneba. Mugabe has said that it was during his time in Ghana that he finally embraced his belief in Marxism. President Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe witnessed the early days of President Nkrumah's presidency.
Absolutely. So there's a lot that in terms of connection with Mugabe and Ghana, beyond the fact that he married his first wife, who is a Ghanaian at the time. It was the rise of Comrade Mugabe in 1980 when he was made prime minister. But today he bowed out, the only president of Zimbabwe, ruling that country for 37 years. The following video story tells us more about the man Robert Mugabe. Exactly what you see right there as it rolls behind you. Now, the former school teacher with 7 university degrees first came to prominence after waging a bloody guerrilla war against the white colonial rulers who jailed him for 10 years over a subversive speech he made in 1964. That is one major highlight that you can see about him. And what you see as well is that Mugabe returned to Rhodesia in 1979 and became prime minister in 1980 over the newly independent country renamed Zimbabwe. That is also one notable factor that you can relate to with Robert Mugabe. In the early years of his rule, Mugabe was praised for expanding social services, including building schools and hospitals. The literacy level in Zimbabwe is something that has been highly commendable there. So there's not so much of a gloomy, negative story of the 37-year rule of Robert Mugabe. There's some notable good contributions that he has made to the development of Zimbabwe over the past 37 years that he has been in power as the president of that country. But today he bows out after 37 years of rule. So that's what you see there, being giving that particular prominence. Mugabe assumed the presidency in 1987 with the prime minister role being abolished. So that's exactly how, a quick summary of Robert Mugabe and his 37-year rule in Zimbabwe. There's some failures and achievements as well, which is something you want to note about. Mugabe's rule has so far culminated in a massive economic crisis for Zimbabwe, once one of Africa's richest countries. His critics blame his policies, indeed, for plunging the country into the state of economic quagmire that it finds itself in now. Mugabe has empowered black Zimbabweans. Perhaps his biggest achievement, and according to some a failure, was a land reform policy that arguably marked the beginning of the downfall of the country. That was in the early 2000s. And that indeed led to this. And we're going to be delving more into Zimbabwe and issues related to Mugabe right after this break. Do stay with us as we do all the analysis related to this. Do stay. Welcome back to News 360, and as I promised you, we're going to be focusing a lot more on the development in Zimbabwe. As you might be aware, Robert Mugabe has resigned. Now, I've been joined in studio by Dr. Vladimir Ntwi-Danso. He's an international relations expert, and he wants to stick to it as that. Doc, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Now, before we get into Dr. Vladimir Ntwi-Danso, I'm going to go on to Skype now, and Tinashe Nyakajino is the chairman of the Association of Zimbabweans living in Ghana, the community of Zimbabweans. I thank you very much, Tinashe, for your time. Good evening. You must be a very happy man, and your community as well, right?
You are very right. We're very excited. We're very happy with what has happened in Zimbabwe today. And I guess every Zimbabwean, wherever they are in the world, they are all excited. They are all excited, in fact.
I see. Now, for those of you here in Ghana, how were you expecting this development there in your country?
Really, like any other Zimbabwean, we never expected this to happen in Zimbabwe. Taking into consideration that President Mugabe has been our president for 37 years. He was a very strong man. He had a very strong hold in every part of the security in Zimbabwe. So these developments were really a big surprise to every Zimbabwean. But at the same time, they were very welcome as well.
Is it the case that now most of you who left the country because of Robert Mugabe would go back after his exit?
Well, we really wouldn't say we'll go back at the moment. This has been a very positive development of what happened in Zimbabwe now. But as you know, Zimbabwe had been grounded right down to its knees. There's no jobs in Zimbabwe. The industry is not functioning. There's nothing. So people cannot go back now. What will people wait for is to see what the next government is going to do in terms of revamping the industry, creating jobs so that people can now say, yes, there's jobs back home, everything is functioning normally, yeah, we can now go back home. But at the moment, I guess we all hold on and see once the new government has got to offer us.
Oh, the vice president is expected to be sworn in, all other things being equal, in the next 48 hours. Is he that man that you will be comfortable with, especially with the literature that he also has a very worse record when it comes to human rights?
Taking aside his record or whatever in the past, I guess he's learned from the President Mugabe that what happened in the past is bad. It divided Zimbabwe. It made Zimbabwe fall down to its knees. So he should be coming back or forming a new government or a new page. And we're having a fresh start. We're actually expecting a new start, a fresh page in Zimbabwe. So we hope that he's coming in as a different man, as a changed man, and create a government that will accept everyone in Zimbabwe, every nationality, every race, despite wherever you're coming from. Everybody should be welcome into the new government, and everybody should be expected to participate in the new government and develop our country.
Tinashe.
So I hope he's learned from what happened in the past, and we're going to have a new, different government.
Right on. Tinashe, thank you for your time this evening, and I wish you well. Tinashe Nyikajino is the president, in fact, the chairman of the Association of Zimbabweans Living in Ghana.
News 360 Skype interview is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go.
All right, so Dr. Vladimir Chidanso has been monitoring this with us. He's been with us in the studio. Did you see this coming, Doc?
I really saw it coming. Beginning from last week, when people call it a coup, people call it whatever it is, started. I knew the end game would be the stepping down of Mugabe and a new beginning for Zimbabwe. So I'm not surprised. Even as at yesterday, on my way from, I was abroad, I was coming in, and in the plane, we were discussing this. We were saying that this man is going to step down in spite of the very fact that he put a broad face, a very high face, stiff face.
There was a lot of expectation that Sunday evening's speech was going to be a speech of resignation. He sort of left all of us in a state of wonder.
That's true.
You know, as to whether this was going to happen. But how does this exit? I mean, what does it mean for Zimbabwe?
It means a lot. It means a lot. For me, the most important thing is the ability of the military to do it quietly and tactfully, in order that the security situation which they saw as deteriorating and which they arrested would not reoccur one way or the other. And I believe that even that speech you are referring to was also part of the tactical game. They allowed him to appear at the congregation. They allowed him to be showing as if he's in charge. But there were some little things in the speech you need to take cognizance of. Number one, he said, I am still the head of state.
Absolutely.
The military has pointed out some bad things towards me, and I accept them. We are still in dialogue. These were signs that I believe he was being exited tactfully. And so it was part of the game to show that the man is around with respect.
So the question has been that if the vice president wasn't sacked and the actions or the issues that snowballed into what we're experiencing now with Mugabe resigning, would we have seen Mugabe's resignation today had it not been for that singular action of sacking the vice president?
We would have seen a worse situation. This is what the military foresaw. They foresaw a situation where if they didn't act, the hierarchy didn't act, there was the possibility of some NCO, non-commissioned officer, making a coup. And those coups are very dangerous. They could snowball. You could have one part of the military saying, we don't respect this kind of thing. And it could have brought about a situation of instability. This is what they foresaw. So that trigger point was very, very important. It was good the wife behaved the way she did. It was good Mugabe sacked the vice president. One thing leading on to the other, and now we are at the situation where I think they want to turn a new page in the history of Zimbabwe.
Now, there are many who say that the vice president now, who is expected to be sworn in for the next 48 hours, it's not a really laudable replacement for him because he doesn't have a very good record when it comes to human rights as well.
For me, it does not matter really, because if he had some cobwebs in his cupboard, they will come out very soon. The main point is this, that the military did not want to make it seem as if they have usurped the constitution, mind you. And so the man was working with Mugabe. The man was sacked by Mugabe. Now let's have him come back and finish the term of Mugabe. Very constitutional thing.
See, but then the problem isn't so much about Mugabe, some say. It is more about ZANU-PF.
Yes.
So if ZANU-PF is still in there, the fundamental problems of Zimbabwe will still persist.
That is part of the transition. That's why I was telling the colleague that the hooray that the ZANU-PF is showing is strategic. Because barely a month ago, they were the very people who said Mugabe was going to stand for elections in 2019.
Absolutely.
If that is the case, what are they saying now? That they are on the streets and trying to impeach him and that kind of thing? It's strategic. Because if they didn't do this now, they would have lost grounds. If they didn't do this now, then there is a possibility of the ZANU-PF splitting or the opposition taking over. So one of the things I can see about the ZANU-PF is that, let's show some kind of solidarity with the military. We don't like the man, let him step down. We don't want to see him again and that kind of thing. So it's very strategic.
Have you ever thought of a post-Mugabe Zimbabwe?
Well, those of you who have been reading me a lot know that I predicted this thing some time back. I predicted a very unpalatable post-Compaoré Burkina, post-Conte Guinea, post-Yaya Jammeh, and Mugabe too. I said that because in those places they haven't built systems. What they have done is that, and Mike, the old man has said it before, Zimbabwe is me and I am Zimbabwe. These are some of the things that sit-tight presidents do, that they do not see anybody around them who is competent enough to take over from them. So they don't build systems that outlive them. And Mugabe is one of them who has fallen prey to this kind of thing. Zimbabweans know Mugabe, fine, yes, but they don't have a system. That is the problem. If they have a system, it will generate itself. You have a system of succession, not lined up in books or that kind of. But you see the party growing. You see, look at Cuba. I mean, the people are still.
How did Grace Mugabe play? I mean, what role did she play in the equation leading to the ultimate resignation, as we speak?
It is greed. It is pride. It is some kind of level she never thought she would be. As a secretary to Mugabe, she got the chance of being the girlfriend of the president, now wife, and now a very prominent person in the ZANU-PF. Now all the riches and whatnot, he goes shopping spree elsewhere and things like that, and felt that there's going to be a vacuum, and I can wedge my way up. Zimbabwe belongs to my husband, one way or the other. If I get this vice president off, get part of the military behind me, but unfortunately, he thought the army chief was behind her, simply because the army chief, the vice president, and Mugabe have been the best of friends for over 30-40 years.
Dr. Vladimir Nchinan, so the conversation actually still continues.
Sure.
I'm grateful for your time.
It's unfortunate there is no time, but I must warn that they must know how to handle the transition. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen because of the deep level of uncertainty about it. Thank you, Prof. I'm grateful for your time this evening. Thank you. He's an international relations expert, and the conversation continues on this. But up next is some business news with Nanekia Mensah-Brampa.
The business segment is brought to you by
Mugabe is no more Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is no more Mugabe. It's time for business now. Good evening, and thanks for staying with us. My name is Nanekia Mensah-Brampa, and we are doing our post-budget analysis still. This time around, ISE, that is the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research of the University of Ghana, says government may fail to achieve its 2018 fiscal targets if revenue mobilization is not improved. Head of Economic Division of the Institute, Dr. Charles Godfred Aka, noted should revenue targets be missed, government may again be forced to sacrifice capital expenditure.
Government in 2018 seeks to strengthen macroeconomic stability and has set a deficit target of 4.5% of gross domestic product and a primary surplus of 1.6% of GDP. Dr. Charles Aka said government must remain disciplined with respect to its spending in order to further consolidate the macroeconomic gains made this year. Professor Peter Korte of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research is of the view the extension of the National Stabilization Fund may be due to the fact that no new taxes were introduced in the 2018 budget.
This is a levy that was imposed on banks, insurance companies, the telecom industry. I think, that's my personal opinion, given the revenue shortfall that government is experiencing, you don't introduce new taxes. It will be difficult to scrap this for now. Certainly, there's something that is affecting businesses. The telecom companies have come to complain that it is stifling their investment and many other sectors. But
the head of Department of Economics of the University of Ghana indicated banking customers may be worried, not knowing which banks will be able to raise the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million cedis. He suggested dialogue on the issue will win customers' confidence back in the banking sector. Director of ASEM, Professor Felix Ankoma Asante, was disappointed the budget was silent on the petroleum tax.
I was personally shocked when nothing was said on petroleum prices. And, petroleum feeds into the electricity generation. So I was asking myself, how are we going to cut it? Because anytime there is a change in exchange rate, petroleum prices goes up. And because we run most of our electricity on thermal plants, it feeds into it. So I didn't see the disconnect well. So cutting in taxes, I was expecting cutting some of the taxes in the petroleum price calculation.
Well, so taxes are still key in the post-budget analysis because the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana has implored government to be stringent in its measures to collect from the informal sector. The institute is of the view government will be unable to roll out most of its flagship programs if it fails to tax workers in the informal sector.
The Institute was reacting to the 2018 budget statement delivered by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. The Institute lauded government's decision to reduce taxes at some sectors of the economy. It, however, entreated government to ensure workers in the informal sector are captured within a tax net.
One thing I've observed is that people bid for very big jobs, say over 50 million. When you look at their tax, it's less than even 20,000. So how can somebody say that you bidding for a job over that amount and the tax is very low? This is done. I can assure you that the government can fulfill its obligations.
Again, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana asked government to ensure that the 100,000 graduates to be employed are given the needed skills to assist the Ghana Revenue Authority collect revenue. Meanwhile, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, as the main regulatory body of accountants, has assembled all professional institutions offering accountancy to students. This, according to them, is to ensure that charlatans are not turned out from the schools and also to monitor their operations.
There were some challenges previously where we had no sort of mechanism of monitoring them. People could just set up tuition providers and within a year or so it falls up and the students don't know where to get tuition. Now students also didn't know where and how they could get tuition at first. But with this scheme coming in place, now students can just walk to the institute or even check from our website.
All right, let's move away now from issues on the 2018 budget. And the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana has indicated the central bank will soon request banks to give a half-yearly update on their green sustainability efforts. Speaking at Green Finance Conference in Accra, Dr. Johnson Isiama commended banks which have begun to use solar panels for their ATMs.
Green finance refers to any financial instrument or investment such as equity, debt, or grant issued under contract to a firm, facility, or agency, public or private, in exchange for the delivery of positive green environment. Ghana is host to the third Green Financing for Sustainable Development Conference in Africa. The conference is aimed at expanding access to climate-focused finance for small and medium-sized enterprises. A panel discussion provided an opportunity for participants to review the current status of green finance in Ghana.
We are going to be requesting banks to at least half yearly give us some updates on some of the sustainability issues. And then the guideline notes that are being put together, hopefully by early part of next year, we'll finish work on that. The guideline notes will sort of dictate the game so that we don't have a haphazard approach. Currently, some banks have gone the distance. Some banks, are implementing this, but others are not.
The CEO of the Private Enterprise Foundation, Nana Osei-Bonsu, said there is the need to encourage the private sector to access funding through private equity.
We haven't mobilized capital to the point that we have long-term pool of funding that can go into private equity, venture capital, and other ways that it's not credit. Because for any ways that you take credit, there's a coupon, there's an interest, no matter how low. So in our environment where you have high cost of money, if the banking system has to grant credit in a way that will create a yield that is real life, the yield that is real income, not the inflated rate.
The Chief Program Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lambert Fabilun, discussed Ghana's progress towards a sustainable environment.
The Environment Protection Agency has included renewable energy in some of the permitting processes. If you go to industry, we tell you between 15 to 20% of your roof span must be skylighting. That will take away some of the energy bills.
The conference was organized under the auspices of the International Trade Center, the African Guarantee Fund, and the Nordic Development Fund.
You can visit 3news.com for more news updates. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. News 360 returns shortly after this.
Welcome back to News 360 and some more news this evening. President Akufo-Addo has reassured Ghanaians that the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor will not witch hunt political opponents. At a forum at Cambridge University in London, he said he will sign the Special Prosecutor's bill into law on Thursday, 23rd of November, on his return to Ghana.
The reason why the Office of Special Prosecutor came into being is because over our history of the last 10, 15 years, any time politicians are stigmatized for criminal conduct, the chorus rises, witch hunting by their political opponents. As if somehow or other, when you've been a minister or you've been an official of government, if you're held to account, something untoward is taking place. It's witch hunting. So, and the idea that an attorney general, who's essentially a political figure in our system, just like here, will then take it upon themselves to lay a prosecution against, say, a member of the past government, because evidence has come out that when X was a minister, they looted public funds. The evidence is there, can be assembled and brought before a court. Instead of the matter being dealt with on its merits, the cry comes, they're witch hunting their opponents. It will happen on Thursday when I get back to them.
Well, the Commission of Inquiry on the creation of new regions has started a public sitting. Appearing before the Commission, petitioners from the Western region argued the creation of the Western North region would bring governance to the doorstep of the people.
So here at the former seat of government in Osu is where various petitioners from the regions that are seeking for another region to be created out of them to meet the Commission of Inquiry to justify why their petitions must be accepted. Appearing today as chiefs and people of the Western region seeking for a Western North to be created. The commission, chaired by retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice S.A. Bobe, constitutes local government experts, legal practitioners and members from academia. The president of the Western Regional House of Chiefs, who is also the Omahene of Sifianyaso traditional area, Ojiahoho Yaojibi II, led the delegation. Also present were Omahene of the various traditional areas, Queen Mothers, members of Parliament for Amenfi East, Shama, Sefia Kontomra, Ahanta West and Bia East, together with the Western Regional Minister and DCEs. Conspicuously missing were minority MPs from the region.
To this stage, we are really excited. We are very, very happy. And we know we are going to convince the commissioners that there is a need for the state to create a Western North out of the present Western region.
The petitioners were expected to make presentations through 3 spokespersons, after which other members of the delegation will be able to make additions in camera.
This is to create a congenial atmosphere for our chiefs and elders who form the bulk of the petitioners to feel free to give information on their demands.
The delegation maintains the creation of the Western North region would enhance decentralization and improve governance.
Look at where Takoradi is and look at where Wasakropon is. It takes them about 6-7 hours to get to Takoradi. If you are in Sehuyo, also it takes you about 8-9 hours, and so on and so forth. Suyaman, it takes you about 8-9 hours. And so what that we are asking is that, yes, population, we have it, size, we have it. So why don't we get a region for ourselves so that we can get our regional minister and the technical people to...
You're so live here on News 360. Up next, some sports news.
Good evening. Time for sports here on News 360. My name is Anako Jafre with the sports update. Stability in the Black Stars post has become a major worry in recent years, but Richard Ofori is increasingly stamping his authority in the goalkeeping department. Ofori has been Ghana regular since Apia and his technical staff took over from Avram Grant in May. The Maritzburg goalkeeper is confident of being Ghana's #1 for a long while to come, and also told Michael Otieje goalkeepers trainer Richard Kinson has been his biggest motivator.
I'm young, and then day in, day out, I learn new things, and then I have good management, which is I always have a good goalkeepers trainer too, and then everyone around us now is a very good technical team as well. So with motivation and all those stars, then Apia, they talk to us and all those stars. I can be in Black Stars for a long.
What are you learning from Richard Kinson, the former international goalkeeper?
He always he doesn't give up. Always he doesn't listen to outsiders. He doesn't give up. So he always say to me don't give up easily. You can concede a bad goal. It's a game. You can concede a goal people, but you don't give up. You need to keep on doing what you are doing, and then later on maybe something good will come out from it. So you don't give up. That's
that don't give up attitude come in handy for you when you went to South Africa, because in the beginning you were not playing for Maritzburg, and now you are the regular goalkeeper.
Of course, I called him and they said, no, keep on working hard. That's the thing, because every foreigner, anywhere you go, you go and then meet different guys, and then those who are playing, those who have played for the team for a while, you go and meet them, and then the attitude and all those stuff. As time goes on, when you are good, when they see that you can do the job, they begin to like you, they begin to work with you.
My director likes Javid Renard, and Morocco's Football Federation have extended Javid Renard's contract until February 2022. The 49-year-old who took charge of the Atlas Lions in February 2016 helped Morocco reach the 2018 World Cup finals this month, their first since 1998. He has been set the target of winning the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon, as well as qualifying for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Federation Chief Fouaze Lecture says, and I quote, Renard's contract guarantees him the work to work under the best conditions until 2022 and with different objectives. By agreeing the deal with him, we are demonstrating our faith in Renard beyond the World Cup. Now let's move on to our next story. Our next story has to do with FIFA, where FIFA has given life bans to former presidents of the Guan, Nicaraguan and Venezuelan Football Association for corruption. Guan's Richard Lai, Venezuela's Rafael Esquivel and Nicaragua's Julio Rocha have been banned from all football-related activities for life. Let's go on and now bring you updates from the UEFA Champions League. The games will kick off in a minute's time, and Spartak Moscow will be up against Maribor. Sevilla will take on Liverpool. Man City will be up against Feyenoord. Napoli will take on Shakhtar Donetsk. Besiktas will be up against FC Porto. Monaco will be up against Leipzig. Apol Nicosia will be up against Real Madrid, and Borussia Dortmund will take on Tottenham. You can check out that one between Dortmund and Tottenham Hotspurs. And that's how we wrap up sports here on News 360. My name is Anako Jaffe. Good evening.
Welcome back to News 360. Entertainment news this evening. Second runner-up of TV3's Talented Kids 2017, Christian Morgan has met with actress Nana Ama McBrown in fulfillment of the actress's promise to support his music career. The versatile actress, who was amazed by Morgan's stagecraft on the show, reiterated her commitments to helping him achieve his goals.
Watching him perform, McBrown got carried away by the dedication and enthusiasm Christian Morgan put into his stage acts. Though visually impaired, Morgan always made it a point to prove to audience that everything was possible. He gradually won the hearts of many, including award-winning actress Nana Ama McBrown, who pledged to support Christian. In fulfillment of her promise, the actress hosted Christian and his Spread Love team in Accra.
I remember I was on your show and I did promise my son here, said, if he doesn't win, or even if he wins, I am going to give him something that, from his own heart, anything that he will request for. Only if it's not like a nipa eventuality there, to me. I invited him to Accra to meet him and then to ask him what he wants, what help him. And then I will also do my best and do it for him.
Christian, as entertaining as he is, sang one of his favorite songs throughout the competition and put his request across.
I'm a Morgan. Yes. Amen. Amen.
McBrown further encouraged Christian not to allow any hindrance to stall his growth and development. She advised him to push harder and realize his goals, noting that his dedication and determination will make him successful.
Thank you.
Well, you know, Nana McBrown, I think it's something worth commending her for. Buy an organ for Morgan to play the organ. We're back after this break. Till stay.